Hey everybody, in this video we're going to go through what transpired in the market today. We're going to discuss Tesla, the earnings after hours. I'm going to review Bitcoin because I got a ton of questions on it. And there's about 15 stocks that really look like we need to go over what's going on here. And there's a couple others I just want to show real quickly that I think people need to either see or to get out of. So let's just jump into it. As always, subscribe to this channel, click notifications because what we go over is extremely timely. So ADTN is one we've been talking about for a little bit. I like this breakout. I mean, I like the fact of how it's acting here. And what I think you need to do is just wait and see if it flips over this line. So if you look at this line right here, okay, 2288. Okay, if you're looking for 2288, that would be a flip of this line. Okay, getting above that line could propel us higher. That's really what you're looking for here. Okay, getting above that, then you start getting into these levels, 2510. Okay, let's look at the monthly. Okay, 27, 28. You see where I'm going with this? Like, this is what you're looking for. This is, the end of the month is obviously coming. This week. So, but what we're looking for is to stay above that level. But at the same time, we're looking for, that break and that push to 28. But that's what you're looking for right now. And that's what we're waiting for. So that's what we need to consider. Now, AHPI is just what I'm going to go over very, very quickly. I know, well, I'm not going to look at the monthly on this. Let me just go to this real quick. So here's your level, 551, right? I mean, you could set your watch to it, right? I mean, breaks below it, can't get there, closes, right? Runs, low, low, right? Gaps, lower, opens, over it. So whoever's here, you have somebody that's buying. The only thing that I would say that is positive is this is your first real green bar that is completely filled that you've had on this stock. You haven't even had them here. So that just shows that you have constant buying throughout the day. That means at every single level you had buying. That's what you want. Now, you get this very interesting pattern going here that's stemming off this open. I don't really know what to make of it, but it's there. So I never really saw anything like that it's called anything because you're not really using, you're so low down in the middle of that bar, right? So, I mean, I don't know that I would call this, maybe you call this a bear flag that you're still in because this red bar is in charge, right? I mean, it's kind of mixed. You're not, you're not any type of bullish pattern because this has been negated even though you're through it. But so the question becomes, what do you have here? So really what I would do with something like this is just look for a higher high on a bar like this and then make a decision if you want to trade it or not. And you have to use this 551 as your stop. I just wanted to go through that so everybody's on the same page. So remove the segment line. AM must have been one that we looked at before in the past. Antero Midstream Corporation. Doesn't really ring a bell. But again, this is only going to take about a minute just to review very, very quickly. See your trend line right here? Okay, see this line? So you keep popping your head through it and then you come back down. I mean, that's where you're going to head to. You're going to head to 1110. I don't know that it's really overly worth it to get involved for that. My argument would be that, you're going to want to start seeing these bigger levels come into play. And the level that I just gave, if you look here, coincides perfectly, that 1130, 1127 here coincides perfectly with your 200-week moving average. I'm not sure I'd want to be in front of that. Right now we have broken this and these are crossing, but I'm just not so sure I'd want to be stepping in front of buying there. So on AM, ATKR, so at Core Inc. Getting a lot of really different names today. Obviously, we've done this one before because look at it. So, and I look at so many stocks during the day. Honestly, I look at about, it's at least 500 or 600. Let's get rid of this, and we can get rid of this line too. So, what do we have going on here? Let's get rid of these for a moment. So, what do we really have going on here? Well, we have this pattern, right? And let's straighten this out a little bit. So we have this pattern sitting right there, right? Now, if you click on this and clone it, where's that sit? Roughly right there. So you have a little bit of a wedge. Now, on that wedge, you're trying to pop through it, right? And you can actually even do this with it just to make it a little cleaner, right? And you're trying to pop out of it, but you're not really popping out of it, right? You're having an issue. And we could just do this with this one. And then they're pretty much lined up. So what does that mean? It means that we tried to get through and we couldn't. So if I was interested in this and I wanted to buy it, I would be looking at this point. The $75 range is where I would look at it. Now, with that said, that also just happens to get you above your 50-day moving average. So that's not the worst idea in the world. And then start working your way up, because then you have to get through 79.50. Then you have this, bear flag that did execute in the gap. You have to get to the top of that, $83. And you can see where I'm going with this, up to 89. But you need to get above that 50-day before you do anything. So as always, I'm just going to keep everything in alphabetical order. And let's do this BTBT real quickly. So I like the action in this today, after hours, based upon what's going on with Bitcoin as it's imploding, which we'll get to in a moment. All this stuff's going to come in. You're going to see, a lot of them come in, the Maras of the world and the, here, look, just get into it. You're going to see the Maras of the world come in. A lot of them are going to come down. I guess we're assuming that Bitcoin was going up on the Amazon news, that they were going to accept payment. They've come out and said they've denied it. Just because they denied it doesn't mean that it's not true. It wouldn't be the first time a corporation says that, no, we're not doing that, and then does it. So, but after hours, this BTBT, it's obviously broken. You're up here, and now you're down about 15% after hours. I definitely would not be chasing this or any of these after hours. This could be a one-day kind of thing. So just keep that in mind. This was a trade. The trade either worked for you or didn't. You either made money or you didn't with it. Do I think you're going to see a lot of follow through? If Amazon came out and said something more positive about Bitcoin, maybe you did. Maybe you saw more, froth. Because that's all this really was. That was just a bunch of people, algos and hedge funds, just knocking it around based upon that. And when that party stops, that's it. So you got to 941 today, and right now you're right here, right? You're right at that 50-day. So you're going to really have to watch this. But for me, your first key level that you'd have to get over, the next one is right here, 1016, right? And then you're going to have this to contend with. But before you even get to 13, you're going to have to contend with the 200, which is 11.25. So you have you have dollar moves the whole way up on this before you even get there on BTBT. But you're going to have to see how this reacts tomorrow. To me, this should deflate it a little bit because that was kind of the reason that people assumed that it was going up. So let's see what happens, and we'll see how we do tomorrow. Bitcoin I got asked a lot about, and I just want to go through this. So this is the first time. Here's the 50-day. Here's the first time you got above your 50-day and stayed above your 50-day. It was actually yesterday because this trade's 24/7. So that's interesting. Now, you saw a ton of volume come in today. The issue with that volume is a couple-fold. So we're just going to look at this. Okay, so this is volume by price. So you can see that you have some volume up in here, some parts of a shelf, and you can see right here where your where your line is, and you can see where your point of control is. That you're above your point of control. Your VWAP's up here, but this is our real problem. This 41.6 level, right? Not this little bounce that everyone's getting all excited about. It's up 6%. I don't see the overall excitement. And I think that you have to look at something, and just so we're all on the same page with this, if you look at this, and let's look at this, and do it on a 15-minute. Okay, this is after the news hit. How stable is that move on this stock or on this cryptocurrency? I apologize. How stable is this move if that news being verified is going to do this to it? Right? So once again, you're going to have people that are looking at this going, well, that's not true. So therefore, we just lost 10% of this cryptocurrency. right? Because that's what, I mean, that's your drop, right? Just so we're all clear, from here to here, 7.4% in an hour and 15 minutes because someone said that they're not going to use it versus someone saying they are going to use it, right? So you need to see more stability in this. And until you see that, you're just going to have people just trade it around and bat it. And that's really what's going on here. But you're in a range. I mean, the one thing that I will say that's very positive about Bitcoin is that you have this 33 range that you might not be breaking this for some time. This may be just a huge base at this level. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I certainly would not be a buyer of this or any of those names until I'm above that. Until I get above 40,500, I would not buy this. The big move is over as far as I'm concerned. And, you had your chance over the weekend and even today off the open, right? 35 to 37, you could have made 5%, 6%. But other than that, I would not be playing with this. I'd be very, very careful. There's too much up here that's telling you that you still have an issue. And yes, this is correcting and it's nice, but we have to see the rest. And we have to see also how much of this was just froth based upon that, Amazon was going to get involved. So we have to see that as well. Claris Corporation, CLAR. So I like the chart a lot. I don't like that I don't have any volume. So this 2607 level was broken. We pop up it and we form this wedge. Then after we form this wedge, we kind of come back, test that 21, and we hold. This is going to be one that you could actually look at the 8-day on. And let's put the 8-day in there. Yeah, it's acting great. It's acting exceptional. Let's just see what we look like on a weekly. I just am not, it's just been a monster. Look at how when you broke that VWAP on the volume your volume by price, look at that. It just took off and then it flipped it to support. So what a monster move. That's huge. That's really big. So let's see what happens with it from here to here. But that's a big move. It's a double, right? So let's see you got to see what happens with it now. You're so far ahead of yourself. I mean, you're up 100% in 7 months. It's a nice, really solid move. It looks like it's going to keep going, but it's way, way overextended for me to get involved with it at this point. I mean, this is my base. And this is all I have. So you might be able to find a pullback near the 21-day, which sometimes seems to happen, and use that. Other than that, if I was in it, I'd stay in this. I want to just cover this one very, very quickly for whoever's in this. COHN. Look, this is only going to take a couple seconds. Here's my 200-day. Here's my 50 about to cross the 200 to the downside. That's called a death cross for a reason. It's over. Okay. The 21 is crossing the 200. So then the 50 is going to cross the 21. I mean, that's inevitable. This is going to happen. If we zoom in on this, okay, we cannot close above the 21-day. And we're rolling. And then here's your line. So this is going to be a huge, huge issue. Okay. And it's definitely one that is not going to go away. So I would not be in this. And I just want to cover it for that reason. So Dash, in regards to Dash, it's doing what it constantly does, right? It breaks out and then doesn't do anything. I mean, this is what it's done to us. It broke out here and then it consolidated and rolled again. I completely am waiting for Dash to do this. Just show you where up my head is with it, right? So you see that wedge? I'm waiting for it to break that wedge and roll down, just like it did. Then we get rid of all these horizontal lines. See when it broke out here? And then you have this bar that kind of encapsulated that bar. And then we kind of poked out and they lured you back in. And then we came back down. I'm expecting something similar here. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not in this and I would watch this very cautiously. Very, very cautiously. Now you have I guess you could use that level right here. Use the top of that hammer. So, I mean, that's your level, 186.32 now. But you really have to get above. If you even are thinking about buying this, you really need to be above 189. If you're not above 189, I wouldn't even get involved. And, this is one where by looking at some of these indicators, you can see how you get above that 189, how you could go because you have no volume up there, right? Even though you have this is what's so cool about volume by price. Even though you have all this up here and it looks like you have a lot of resistance when you're up here, when you look over here to the right, you can see that you don't have anywhere near what you had right in here, which looks like you should have less. So I always find that interesting. DLO. Okay, with DLO, let's go to this is obviously a new issue. I'm going to just go to an hourly chart so that I have 30 data points. And then I'm going to get rid of the after hours data. And we're just going to look at this. So here's really what's going on here. So here's volume by price, right? Here's my point of control, and I'm just sitting right on it. We've obviously been looking at this for a while because, as we stated earlier, I believe that I think we did this, probably Friday. So I was going to say yesterday, but I think we did it Friday. 53, 42, and 46 are your levels. So here we come out and brand new day. Here we go. And we get above what? 53, 42. And what happens? It completely rejects. Okay. Opens another bar right on it, completely rejects. Tries again, rejects, goes back to point of control. It's very clear that this level is important, this 53, 42 level on DLO. And until you get above it, there's really nothing to do. Okay. If you want to stay in it as a trade, that's great. If you don't want to be in it as a trade or you're in it and you're looking to get out, there's two lines that it is respecting very, very clearly. And I can get rid of this and I'll clean it up for you so that you can see them and use these lines because they are pretty helpful and pretty clear what they are. So here's your point of control, right? So you can see how it's just riding that line all here, how it was resistance, and then it flips to support. So that would be your first line of defense. If you wanted to give it more room for some reason, which I would not do, but if you did, you could use this VWAP line, right? Look at how we're respecting this VWAP line right here, 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 right? I'm not going to keep saying here, but you get it all throughout here. So, well, there it is again. So just keep that in mind. This is not something that you need to be rushing into. Let it clear itself out, but I would use those two levels as a stop. So DOCU, I keep getting asked about, and I mean, it's down 1% today, and I think that's after hours, and it's not even down as a green bar. It just opened down and then it just sat there, and you're above a support line. You're above major support. You're above this key level, and you just kept pushing. You just went from 271 to 300. You just moved 10%. You're going to consolidate. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. From the newsletter, we're in at 299. If you're overly concerned about it and you're in at the news price or the newsletter price, just move your stop up. Get stopped out if it happens. It's not a big deal. You can always put the trade back on. Caveat, I'm in this trade. I like this, and I don't see any reason to change my opinion on it whatsoever. And I'm going to continue to stay in it. So in regards to Facebook, I like this trade. I don't think this trade is over. I covered it, and I'll link that video at the end of this to the top 8 stocks that are coming out with earnings this week that I think that you need to watch. And this was one of them. And really what I'm looking for is this here. Let's just take a look at this. Okay. These are my earnings. My earnings are on the 28th, which is Wednesday. So we need to be aware of that, right? We don't have to do anything about it. We just need to be aware of it. But I do think that we're setting up for a big move up to this level. I can't really buy these in the earnings. And, even when I bought shop in the earnings, we'll go through that today. You have to contend with people who are going to want to sell before earnings. And sometimes it happens. And I'm dealing with that position today. But Facebook, this breakout's huge. This is enormous. What happened with Snap, huge. So don't think that it's not pertinent. FTNT, it's just a monster. I mean, we just broke out and you just keep going. And there's not really much more to say about it. I mean, As far as what type of value I can add looking at this chart, the only thing that I could say to you is it would be nothing for this to revert to, there we go. It would be nothing for this to revert to its 21-day moving average. But based upon that chart, that would just be a buy for me. Now, you do have a date coming on July 29th for earnings. And you have a lot of earnings this week. And this is one of them that's going to be, a make or break for the stock. This is really overly extended from its base. So anything that goes wrong with earnings and this stock's going to wind up coming in. Anything. There's no question about it. Google just continues to be Google. And we have earnings. I believe they're tomorrow. And 27th. And look, it's telling you what people are thinking. Right? They're buying the heck out of it. So that looks like it's going to continue. Whether or not you buy before earnings or after earnings is up to you. Obviously, this has just been an absolute monster move, and it's just continuing to go. So I don't see any reason to, you try to get in this sometimes, and it just stops you out. But then it just, man, when it goes, it goes. And it's just a slow grind every day, 1%, 2%, but it gets you there. It's boring, but, over the period of from January, from January where it was 1,700 to now, I guaranteed it's outperformed like 99% of all traders. I don't think there's any question about it. So something to consider. GPS, the gap. So there's a lot going on here. I'm going to leave all this up. We came to the 200 and then we came back down, right? Came to 200, came back up, came back down. Here we go. Up over the 8. Here's the 21. Here's the 50. Okay? Here's my wedge. Here's all my resistance up here. All I expect this to do, candidly, is come here, bounce, test one of these 3 or 4 levels that are up here, right? You have 4 levels up here. You have a point of control line. You have a 21-day moving average that's going to come down by tomorrow. And you have a 50-day that'll be down lower by tomorrow. You have 4 points to contend with as resistance sitting right there. I really don't see any reason to jump into this and face those. It just doesn't seem to make sense to me. So I would just tell you to hold off. And if I was in this for the long term and I was doing well with it, if I broke that 200-day, I would be out of it. So LCID. So LCID, I just want to go through this real quick. I was asked a lot about this one today. I think it was probably the huge volume spike because this is a pretty big volume spike for this one. Let's go through the relative volume and you can see, right, this is a little bit above average, about 3x what we normally see on volume. So now we're pushing through and up. But where did we close? And let's get rid of these moving averages just so we can see things a little clearer. Okay, so, and let's pull this back. So where did we close? We closed below VWAP. Have we had trouble with VWAP before? Well, when we got up above here, we didn't stay. Couldn't get above it here, couldn't get above it here, couldn't get above it here. Here we are again, right? So somebody is just pegging VWAP, meaning that whenever it's there, there's a net seller up there. Could be one, could be many, but somebody's sitting there. So if you were looking at buying this, you need to start getting above these levels. Like you need to be above 29 if you're thinking about buying this long term. If you're thinking about it for a trade, it really doesn't matter. But if you're thinking long term, that's what you really need to be looking at. Light speed. So this was a trend line we had before. And I like this trade. And I'm going to take this out for a minute. Okay, sometimes I leave them in because these stocks will regress. And, I was asked about this earlier about does it matter if it's through a gap or not a gap? Charting to some extent is a science, but it's also an art form. And you have to consider that. You have to look at it that way. So not everything's exact. Not everything's black and white, right? I mean, if it was, we'd all be trading the same exact pattern. But 88.63 on this. See how you're going to touch this and possibly break out? I think it's going to go. I mean, a lot of people know I have the saying, first time is what? The mouse gets the trap. Second time, what happens? Gets the cheese. So, I mean, I think that that's what's going to happen here. I really do. And it's something that I would really consider. looking at. Now you're going to have to contend with this. You have earnings coming up next week. So that's definitely going to be an issue. And you're going to have to consider that in your investments thesis. But I do think that this is going higher. If we look at this just to clean it up and make it really easy to see, okay, here's your range, right? This is really a tough one, right? I would actually do this. So you're going to have an issue up here, right? But that gets you to 90. So you're going to have to see it that way. That's a really tough one, that kind of chart, because there's a lot of different ways that you could do this with these little wicks and which ones you're going to pick. And there's a methodology to it. I'm not going to bore you with it, but it makes it somewhat difficult when you have a little pattern like that. But this is roughly right where I think that most people are going to find that line. But you could flip it. You absolutely could flip it. I like the idea. MELI came down, and maybe it came down with, because shop came down today. I'm not really sure what the issue was there, but it definitely came in. And I don't think there's much more to say about that. So look, let's get rid of this again, because I think that this is somewhat pertinent for a moment. Then we can put these back. But let's just open this up. Okay. So here we are again. Here's my VWAP. Here's my point of control. Look how we're battling right at this level, right? I mean, that's what you want to see. That's exactly what you want to say. So maybe it holds. Now, overlaying this level and putting this into it, you can see all your moving averages. We really don't need the 5. You can see all your moving averages and everything's pointing up, right? It's exactly what you need. So I like this. I like this a lot. And I think this could continue to build and to move. But it looks great. So Ruku's one that I've been trading in for a while. And this is going to just be like, there's going to have tons of stuff all over it. We've been in and out of this name so many times. But right now, what I've been doing is just overlaying these averages with it. Okay, these are your fib levels and these are average levels that are, it's just a calculation. Fib's just a calculation, right? I mean, this minus this is that percentage, this minus this is that percentage. I mean, you kind of get where they're going with this, right? This is 23% of the line, this is 38.2% of the line, this is 61.8% of this line, right? They're just multiplying it out and extrapolating it, and it's a pattern that is found all throughout nature and history. And it replicates. So it's utilized. And frankly, it just determines, in my opinion, it's just excellent at charting human behavior is the best way to think about it. Now, with that said, all we did today was get right to this level and stop. I got to be honest, I really don't have a major problem with this. So you mean after we had a 10% move, which was the single greatest move the stock's ever had, all I did was try and challenge the high and I didn't break it? I'm okay with that. I mean, I really am. Like, this is not a huge sell down from the high off. From the high, we're off 1%, right? 5 points on a $500 stock. You're off 1 point. You want to be very specific. You're off 1.2% from the high. I have zero problem with this. So let's see how it plays out. But I like the idea. I like it a lot. So let's see how we do here. But I think that this is raring to go. I think this is ready to go. I think it's ready to go up another level. I do think we're going to get to this 537, 538 level, and we'll see. So shop, shop is one I have in the newsletter, and we're in at 1600. We were up 40 points. We gave it all back today. Some people were going to use this low as their stop, which was the 1595 level. Some people are going to hang in there a little bit longer and just wait for this 1560 level. However you're trading, it's entirely up to you. 1560 to me, it's booted out of the newsletter for sure. That really shouldn't happen. But this happens sometimes, and it's before earnings, and we knew that this was coming. We've been talking about this. So sometimes this happens, and you just have to put yourself in a position where you say, all right, I'm up. I'm not going to go down in it, or I'm up, and I'm going to honor the 15, 16, 60 stop. Or I don't want to be in it for earnings. These are all personal decisions that no matter who you talk to or quote what guru you talk to, they can't make these decisions for you. You need a process so that when things start getting bloody, you make your own decisions, and then you have the confidence, whether this one works or it doesn't work, then you have the confidence to go and do the next one by yourself and not worry about what a tweet said or what a Reddit subreddit said or whatever the heck, whatever you're reading. So you need the process to be you. I'm not saying not to get ideas from things like that, but when you set something like this up, like when I put this on, just to give you an example, when I put my trade on, I'm done. It's already done. I already know where I'm getting out, why I'm getting out. I don't care what anyone else has to say about it, because at the end of the day, it's not their P&L, it's mine. So, that said, I like it. I hope it holds. If it doesn't, on to the next one. It's just one trade. It's not a big deal. So let's get rid of some of this stuff in here, because I do want to go over this one because I think it's getting ready. So see how you're up here and you can't break it? You come back down again. You try, can't break it. Try again. Tries again. Here's what I like about today. Okay. See how you have this break and this wedge above? See how this bar, when we broke down, we didn't even get to the low of that, and we opened there? We opened at the low and closed where? At the high. This entire body of this green bar encompassed the entire red of that red bar. Okay? So to me, I look more for when I talk about bullish and bearish engulfings, the technical term is that really needs to encompass the whole bar. For me, I don't look at it that way. I'm interested in the meat of the move. The meat of the move is where we opened and where we closed and what happened in between it. And that's really what I focus on more than anything. Everything else on the outside could just be noise where people banged it around, right? And I can kind of maybe, I haven't looked at this, but maybe give you an example of that, right? If I look at this chart, you can see the key levels just by looking at it, right? Here was one, here's one, here's one. Right? So you kind of get a sense of that, right? But if I look off the open, like just take this day and here off the open, right? Okay. There's your open. Okay. So now I know where my open was. There's my close. So if I just look at those numbers, everything else kind of becomes irrelevant. If I just go here and go, well, here's my open. Here's my close, right? You can see where I'm going with this. If you just focus on those key points, you might start looking at things just a little bit clearer, because when a stock opens, that's where the market makers are, right? That's where they're saying the level is. So that's why it's so important to understand the open and that price, and then realize that there were no games played there. It was just straight buying all day. That's why it's important. So to me, this is setting up. Okay, this is setting up from here all the way over to here. You're setting up for a move. So just watch this and watch the 272 level, because I do think it's going to go. So this Steel Dynamics just keeps hanging in there. STLD. And we're going to see how this plays out here. But that said, and if they don't get an infrastructure bill, these are all going to get hit no matter what. If they're going to go, this one to me is the best looking chart. But I'm fighting with point of control. I'm fighting with my 21 day that I'm finally over, and my 50 is still pointing down. And I'm having trouble with the 50, and it's pointing down. So I'm not really overly excited about this one. And I would tell you to hold off a little bit until you get something more definitive. So here's Tesla, and their earnings by all accounts were good. Their credits that they get were not as high as they normally are. And the earnings were still, in my opinion, excellent. I try to avoid going over earnings as far as doing fundamental analysis on here, because I try to keep this as a technical. I want this to be technical, because technical is much more objective, in my opinion. You can just state numbers and levels and go from there. These were the levels I have drawn on it, okay? This is exactly where I got to tonight so far, right? I got exactly to this level. Right, so my high of this was what? 678. Okay, that's exactly where I got to so far. I'm not saying it doesn't break it. I'm not saying it doesn't go over it later tonight. I don't know what it does. I'm just saying that's the level that we're at right now. Now, how do you play this? If you're in this and you don't break this level tomorrow, you have to realize you're going to come back down and sell around. But this is where you're at right now. So you're just going to have to sit, watch, and wait, right? To me, maybe it does go back up to this level. Maybe it breaks out and starts taking out these higher highs. But when this is drawn properly, which this is not, right? I can put this here, and then I just pull this down just a little bit there, right? So now you can see, right? I mean, I always refer to these as like just, you're in a kill zone. I mean, something's got to happen in here, and it's just a question of what. So to me, if the earnings are good and people are short, let's not overcomplicate it. Get over my point of control, which we're having a heck of a time doing, aren't we? Right? That's why I would strongly recommend to anybody. I use Trendspider here because it's easy, because it's web-based. There's a link in the description. 7 days, they give you a free trial. The only reason I bring it up is I would be all over learning point of control. And I think that you using that line in the VWAP by volume by price could save you a tremendous amount of pain with your trades. Tremendous. So I like Tesla. Caveat, I have a position in it, just to throw that out there. In regards to Upstart, I know everyone's all excited because it's up today. Okay, I stated this earlier. Here, look, you're in this line. You have this trend line. You have this trend line down, right? This is not drawn properly. Sometimes these seem to move, I guess when I move the cursor and get all crazy. But I'm not overly doing cartwheels here. I mean, everyone's all excited because it's up. Okay, so we're above the 21-day for the first time in a week, right? I'm still below the 50. Okay, I'm above the 8, so which means I'm going to be above the 5. I just don't get it. I mean, look, maybe it flips and maybe it goes up, but it's not something that I'm going to chase right here. It has a lot of work to do. To me, I still have an enormous bear flag here. If I get rid of all this other nonsense that I have drawn up here, right? Let's just get rid of everything on Upstart for a moment so you can see where I'm going here. If you could do me a favor and click the like button, I'm trying to get in front of as many people as humanly possible to show them what it takes to be truly successful trading. Thank you. You see this? Look, here's your flagpole. Here's your flag. I mean, what am I so excited about? To get to 129? Yeah, maybe there's a day trade there. Maybe there's a couple day trades there. But, I mean, if that's what you're looking for, there's definitely something there. ZBH. So ZBH, and you know what? I'm going to do one more after ZBH. I don't know why no one asked for this one. It's odd. Look, here's your trend, right? You can clone this and kind of see if it fits anywhere. Kind of fits right here. Funny how that works. So see this, you're in a falling wedge. Now throw in your indicators. Okay, you're at point of control. You're at the top of the falling wedge. Your 50's pointing down, your 21's pointing down, and you're barely holding on to your 200. Okay, so I would avoid this. I mentioned this on last night's live call, and again, it's one of the reasons why I tell people to, just stick with the notifications and leave the notifications on. What I wanted to see was this. Okay, and this is really the level that I was talking about. I wanted to see you get above this level here, and you did. So to me, this could push to the top. It can do a couple things. One, ZM can push to, hold on one second. Let me make that perfect. Because for this, it's actually going to matter to me. Okay, so what you're going to see is you can get to that level, right, which would get you out of this, which would be 382. And the next level that you could get to is 390. So they're your key levels, 382.76 or 390. I think this can keep going. I've been watching this and the sell down. We broke that wedge. We're selling down. Obviously, this red bar's in charge. This is a bear flag. But we're through the flag part today, right? So now let's get rid of all this so you can see this clearer. So here's your flag, right? And then here's the, your flagpole. Here's your flag. And now this is broken through all the flag today. Get above the flagpole and you're good to go. So this could move. I don't think Zoom's done. It's interesting. Nobody asked about it today. But anyway, That's it. Everyone have a great evening. And any questions, please reach out.